Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 3, Episode 4. This one's titled La Justicia Fronteriza. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. That's what this episode was called. And this one was pretty interesting because it felt like almost like a Game of Thrones battle, which is shocking to say for The Walking Dead. And mind you, it wasn't shot the same way from like a cinematography perspective that Game of Thrones did, because some of those battles were like insane. Like the Battle of the Bastards was an insane episode. It wasn't shot like that, but the stakes in this episode with that battle were really interesting, and unlike a lot that we've ever seen in The Walking Dead, I would argue. It may not be like absolute cinema, but it was really fun, and I think that is kind of the general consensus so far of this season. Like, this season is shockingly entertaining so far, more than other seasons. And you guys know I've been very critical of The Walking Dead, especially the spin-offs in these most recent years. But out of all the seasons of Daryl Dixon, so far I'm enjoying this one kind of the most, and I think a lot of that has to do with the setting. It doesn't have anything to do with the writing, because the writing is still very classic shit, but at least it's fun to watch. It's better than it's been. Season 2 was terrible, in my opinion. Season 1 was really solid, but Season 2 was terrible, and then this feels kind of like a return to that solid form that the first season had, just in a new way, because it feels like the stakes are now building towards kind of getting home or something like that. And I'm okay with that. I like the sound of that. So I wrote notes on my handy dandy iPhone, the new 17. I wrote some notes out about it. There's not much. If you look at that, that's pretty tiny. It's not in focus. There it is. It's pretty tiny amount of notes, because a lot of this episode did have to do with the battle. Now, the one thing I did think was really stupid with the battle is somehow after all of these people came in, I forget the name, I forget what they called, the Primitivos or something like that. After they all came in and infiltrated Solaz Del Mar, or whatever, I think that's the name, Solaz Del Mar. After they came in and infiltrated that town, out of nowhere, Daryl and Carol just arrive and manage to murk like all of them, even though these are gigantic dudes and have like crazy barbaric weapons and shit like that. They're just like right in the middle of all the action and manage to take out all of them, while they are probably in their, at this stage of their lives, 50s, maybe even older than that. It's just, that's so unbelievable. That's so unbelievable. And then this episode also had the problem of the infinite ammo that every season of The Walking Dead has, where they were just constantly shooting the guns and no reloading or anything, and managed to wipe out like hundreds of these soldiers. Kind of hilarious. And that wasn't just Daryl and Carol. That was also them. Like, I'm talking about the hundreds. That's like also everyone involved. I just thought that was pretty interesting, because you don't see that. Like, what the hell are? I thought that was pretty cool, but it was still fun, like, nonetheless. It was a good battle sequence to see, and something that felt, I guess, like a real surprise in terms of the show. The one thing that this also does that I wasn't a huge fan of is they have those like long drawn out death scenes with characters we don't care about, whether it's Cooper or whether it's the one guy in the towns whose nephew was one of the walkers or something like that. Like, they do a little too much with that, but I can at least enjoy it for what it was. This battle was really, really cool to see. And then other than that, that's kind of it as far as the episode goes. A big focus of it was that. A big focus of it as well was Daryl and Carol finally being able to repair the sailboat and them talking about the logistics of leaving. The only other thing was Roberto, I think his name is, and Justina. Justina like brought herself away. Then Roberto went after her. And then after Roberto goes after her, I think he found her. I got a little confused with the sequence. Like, it showed them together, and then it showed their car crashed and that they got taken by someone. So I don't know where that's gonna go, but that was like the only other element. So it was like those three things, but obviously the biggest one was that battle. The other thing that happened, as mentioned, was Daryl and Carol rebuilding the sailboat, which I thought was interesting. They got a group of people together and made the wood to prop the boat up, and then they were working on the repairs. And as that's all going on, Daryl was just angry. he was just pissed off the whole time, really just hell-bent on leaving, and Carol's like, wait, I like love, like I want to save all of these people, I love them, blah blah blah. Like, bro, you should just get the fuck home, however means necessary. And I find it funny that when they finally find a way to get home and they're talking to the boat lady who like knows everything about boats and spent her life on the water, she's like, Carol's telling her like, you should come with us because you know how to sail. And she's like, no. I lived my life on the sea. Now I'm on the land for long enough. I don't want to go. You should take Cooper. So Cooper's talking to Daryl. They're like trying to figure out if he should come with them or not. And then, of course, the one guy who could sail a boat and knows how to sail it back to California, which is what he was talking about, dies. Classic The Walking Dead. The one guy we need dies. So now that's like the plot element where they're going to have to figure out how to get home, because it is unbelievable as it is that they're going to use a sailboat to get to America, which could take multiple weeks. And we already saw how negatively that could go in a storm. Yet somehow we're just, we're just gonna pretend that doesn't exist. I don't know. I'd be interested to see if this is like the end game for how they get out. If they get out and get back to America on a sailboat. But it seems like their odds are way less in their favor now because Cooper, the one guy who can do that and can do it well, is dead. So there's that. That's gonna be definitely interesting to see and explore. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist of the episode. The battle was really cool. It was really nice to see something like that, and it feels like the leader, Fady or whatever, what's his name? The guy who leads Solaz Del Mar is, it seems like he knows a little bit more about the Primitivos that he's leading on. And you can see that there was like a shot of Carol and Daryl looking at him when he was like talking to the guy. I just thought that was a very interesting thing, and I wonder what that's going to mean for the story. It is pretty cool to hear that group is apparently heading to Barcelona next, which is coincidentally where Jeff Grimes is, who is Rick's brother. We don't know that in terms of the show, but we know that in terms of the comic, that's where he is. So I wonder if that's going to have any longevity to this story, and we're going to see something with Jeff Grimes there. The only other thing that I have a question about that I thought was interesting about this episode, and something that is kind of a problem overall with the story, is Cooper. He died and like instantly turned into a walker. And I feel like the show has been doing that a lot lately, where a character will die and then like 3 seconds later it just turns. And I know the variety of deaths that lead to walker, like someone turning, it varies in the show. They've talked about that before, where it could be anything from a few minutes to a few hours. Yes, I have heard that, but it feels like now more than ever, every character who dies turns like instantaneously. And I feel like that's something that is like worth these characters talking about, unless they're just doing it out of convenience for the story, which is probably the case. Like, let's be real here. That's probably exactly what it is. But it is interesting to talk about. So yeah, that's kind of the episode. Like it was a long episode, but a big portion of it was spent on that battle. And I'd say a big portion of it was pretty cool because of that battle. I'm just surprised at how everyone somehow managed to just basically be okay, albeit a few people did die, but everyone was okay, and there was like hundreds of these people coming in. And then after all these hundreds of people come in, they have this catapult that has walkers that are on fire, like live walkers that are on fire, that they catapult into the town, and that they're on fire, and then they go in and kind of, try to kill people and all that stuff. That was cool. It was an interesting use of a weapon in terms of the story, and something that we haven't seen before, and I was a fan of that for sure. Like, that was cool to see. It was just cool to see how the progression of that battle went on, and that's where I feel like it felt like a Game of Thrones-esque sort of battle because of that, if that makes any sense. But I liked it. I thought it was fine. This was, there was a couple goofy moments in it, but it's The Walking Dead. Like, what else can you expect? Like, always there's goofy shit going on in this show, but the battle was cool. I like that they're still hell-bent on getting home. The only thing I'm not really a huge fan of right now is the Justina and Roberto plot point. I don't find that really interesting at all. I don't have a care in the world for it, to be honest. I just want to see the characters get home. But I have to say, even for this one, outside of the battle not being anything like really to write home about from like a writing perspective, I did enjoy it. And I think it goes to show this season, outside of episode 1, has been, honestly, it's been very enjoyable so far. It's not, again, not good writing, but fun to watch. I'll give it a solid fun to watch. Right now I'm rewatching I'm already almost on season 3, and I'm rewatching Dexter, so I'm doing 2 rewatches at the same time. And like, it's kind of interesting because those shows I'm very excited to watch, and each episode I go back to watch, I'm really excited about. But this show, like when it comes to Sundays, I'm like, okay, here's another episode. But then I watch the episode and I'm like, oh, that was pretty good. It wasn't as bad. So like, I don't know if I'm the problem or not, but every time I go into an episode, I'm like not looking forward to watching it, and then it turns out pretty decent. So I enjoy it, but it's still, there's no, I think my problem is, unlike a show like or unlike a show like even Dexter, where I'm like glued to my seat, like even after on a rewatch, like really just like fixated on what's going to happen next. I don't have that with Dead City. I mean, excuse me. Well, Dead City definitely, but I don't have that with Daryl Dixon at all. And I think that sucks. Like, I want that in The Walking Dead. The last we had something like that was The Ones Who Live, but that also ended out to be a fucking musty fart. So I can't even say it was that. I just want those sort of stakes. Like when I was watching Dexter Resurrection, every episode I was glued to my seat, like what the hell is going to happen next? You don't have that in The Walking Dead anymore, and that sucks. And that's why I think the enjoyment levels are so different, and it's not as exciting to watch because there's nothing like... There's no real stakes. You know Daryl and Carol are going to survive. Like, they're not going to kill these characters off, at least not in terms of these spin-offs. If they're going to do it, it's going to be, like, back at home with everyone. So there's no real stake keeping me to watch the show. You know what I mean? It's entertaining, it's fun, but it's just not doing anything that's putting anyone in serious risk. And I think that is just a problem with The Walking Dead overall. They want to play it safe. They never want to put these characters in a real, like, dire circumstance. And that's unfortunate because that's what makes for good storytelling. But they don't do it. I don't know. I'm like all over the place. I did like it. I'm liking this season so far, but there's still that underlying problem with it that I don't know how they're going to fix. I know Andrew Lincoln is apparently in talks to come back, not backs. I know he's mentioned something about it. Apparently now Norman Reedus has mentioned something about it. So it seems that they're setting that up. And in the comments of this video, I'd love to hear from you. Would you rather them tell us ahead of time that Rick's coming back, or would you rather it be a surprise? Given the state of The Walking Dead, which would you prefer? I personally think it's a bit of a double-edged sword because obviously right now there's no stakes in the story. So if they announce Rick coming back, that adds that like thing to look forward to. But if they don't announce it, it makes the moment of him coming back more special. I think we're at a place with the show where we kind of need something to look forward to, but it sucks that it has to resort to being, we need to hear about Rick for that to happen. Does that make sense? Are you shooting what I'm loading? Definitely comment your choice there, and comment the illustrious dolphin if you're picking up what I'm putting down. By the way, wanted to mention this in the beginning of this, or at the end of this video. We just recently launched memberships on the channel, and the first 3 members have joined. So thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Once we hit 10 members on the channel, I'm going to start doing member shout outs in the end of the videos, probably in the form of an overlay. So that's kind of my goal for now, to at least get to 10 members. For those of you who have joined already, the 3 of you who have, I'm very grateful for you. Thank you so much. But there's going to be more to come outside of just those shout outs. I will be making some form of exclusive content, whether it's more vlog stuff on there or early access to videos. I'm going to try for my video essays to get those out ahead for members, but also I do plan on making some more exclusive, like personal content for the members, not just like a place where it's for shout outs. So I'd really appreciate your support. I'm not begging or anything like that, obviously, but my channel goal now is to get to at least 10 members so we could begin shout outs, and I think that'd be fun for the community, and we'll be doing a lot more community driven stuff there. So I'm looking forward to that. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe and like this video. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.